You're listening to the Full 10 Yards of Britball podcast with your host, Timothy Lambert-Monk. Yes, welcome in. Well, this is the Full 10 Yards Britball podcast. Only a couple of weeks left if you're south of the Hadrian's Wall, I suppose. Only a couple of weeks left in the season. A couple of teams playing their last games yesterday, including, as you can see, Bournemouth Bobcats. And we'll get to those guys very shortly indeed. But if you are looking for a Week 13 review, that should be with you on Tuesday evening, giving you a full rundown of all the results and some of the touchdown scorers, if it's the social media teams that have given us that information. But not all social media teams are that great on game days. But let's get to the Bournemouth Bobcats, possibly one of the teams of the year, one of the surprise packages of the year, and we're gonna find out why that is the case and why they've done so well. So as you can see, we've got Coach McLean, we've got Mike, and we've got Perry, and we'll get to the players shortly. But Coach, very warm welcome to you, sir. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you, Tim. Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, and I'd say in preparation for the podcast, not many of you would have known, but I got my Bobcats mixed up, and I hadn't realised that we already had Bournemouth on. So apologies for that. I don't know if anyone's ever got their Bobcats mixed up. Yeah, answers on the host card if you have. But Coach, tell us a bit about, for you. Obviously, last time we spoke, 2019 was ahead of the Brit Bowl final in Div 2. Obviously, a lot has happened since then. But before we get into that, just tell us how you got into the sport and how you got into coaching.
For myself, I grew up in America. So, I'm originally in the UK, went over to the States in 79, started playing Pee Wee ball, early 80s, and just sort of progressed from there. Came back into the UK, 89. Started playing with the Weymouth team, progressed to the Bournemouth Renegades, and I've sort of been involved with the sport on and off since then. So I've been in the sport for about 40 years now. Got back with the Bournemouth Bobcats when they reformed under Tim Isles back in 2008-9. Got into coaching as an OC for the Bobcats in 2014 and took on the head coach role in 2016. And run with it from there, really.
Yeah, cool. And then let's say last time we spoke was Brit Bowl 2, Brit Bowl Div 2 final. Give us kind of a quick whistle stop tour of where the Bobcats have been, obviously since you took over head coach, and just talk about what it was like to experience, because obviously we haven't spoken since the final. Obviously you lost to was it South Wales, wasn't it? I think it was 13-0, something like that. But tell us kind of what you took from that game. In order to, like I say, you've gone from strength to strength this season. Any particular things that you drew from that game or that season, especially with the lengthy delay off the field because of COVID?
Yeah, I mean, we took a lot from the game, and to be honest, we took a lot from the season. We've put a lot of institutional changes within the club, within the organisation. A lot of coaching changes, a lot of infrastructure has changed from when myself, Sam Williams, who's my assistant head coach in DC, and also a massive shout out has to go to Keith Barnes, who's our GM, who's the heart and soul of the club. We've slowly been putting changes into place, and that 2019 season was the first sort of hard sort of results we were seeing from those changes coming through, where, it's something we've been preaching throughout the whole time, Bobcats family. Some people think it's cheesy when they first come in. But I think pretty much everyone buys into it by time, they have a few sessions with us. But we slowly sort of started to change the infrastructure within the team itself, a lot more time looking at film, getting the sort of positional coaches in place to make sure we were delivering sort of positional training for all of our players. But that 2019 season was the first one where we were able to sort of stand with the big boys, as it were. And I think one of the first games, although we lost it, but we were able to sort of say, we were able to hang with the big boys, was the London Blitz game at home, where although we lost 39-33, we had an opportunity to win it right at the end, but we were putting up points. The offense was, scoring week in, week out, but it gave us a lot of confidence. And the only two games we lost that year were against Blitz. And even when we were away to them, I think it was 19-13 away. Again, we had an opportunity to win it right at the death. And unfortunately, it was just a mental mistake on our part. But again, just taking confidence from all of those, and we built on that. Went away on both of our playoff games, quarterfinals away to Norwich, semi-final to Essex. And what we had been able to develop within the offense was a diverse and multifaceted offense where we can scheme and change the scheme week in, depending on who we're playing. I think that year we had, 1,500 yards rushing, 1,500 yards passing. And depending who we were playing, we could mix it up. Defense that year was absolutely amazing. Sam's brilliant on the defensive side of the ball. Again, huge props to him for being able to scheme against who we're seeing. And the final itself, not going to lie, it was heart-crushing. One of the hardest games I've had to come out of. But again, we were able to take positives out of it. It was just a few plays here and there. It was up until the very last drive. It was only a 6-point game. We threw a trick play right in the end, trying to score when we were right deep in our own half, which in a normal situation we wouldn't have done. And they scored right at the end based off of that. But, it's a championship game. If you're not going out to win that, you have no business being in a championship game. But that gave us massive confidence moving on. And, going into the 2020 season, what we thought was going to be the Division 1, it gave us some confidence to move on from that.
And I say 2020 was lost, and we are where we are with 2021. We'll get on to the season very shortly. But Perry and Mike, waiting very patiently down there. You guys, you told me before we hit the record button that you're rookies. So firstly, welcome to the sport. It's very brutal. Mike, we'll start with you. Like I say, every guest that we get on, I like to understand how you got into the game. Is it through NFL, college, or CFL, or dare I say EFL or something like that? But tell us how you got into the sport, and then what made you pop down to Bobcats.
Well, I come from a rugby background. I played a good standard of rugby back home, and I stopped playing about 5-6 years ago when my daughter was born. I took a step back from it, and I wanted to try something new. I tried a few other different sports, and it's me and my missus were watching Ballers one night, and all I said was, I'd love to have a go at playing football. I really would. And she said, why don't you go play for the Bobcats? And so I did. I messaged a Facebook page, and I think it was halfway through the 2019 season. They said that we're done with recruitment this year, but you're more than welcome to come along next year. So I sort of made it my goal for the year to be a Bobcat. And I remember the first training session I turned up to, there's about 40, 50 blokes, and I didn't know anybody. It was quite intimidating, but one of the best things I ever did. I've met some great people, made some great friends for life, and my only regret is I didn't do it sooner. It's a great sport to be part of. Bobcats are an amazing team to be a part of. Like Simon said, that our family ethos is massive. It's a massive part of who we are. And people will laugh at that and say, like, it's corny, it's cheesy. But once you embrace into that, you really get into what the team's about, and it's an absolute pleasure to be a part of.
Well, just regards to when you said you turned up to training session and obviously playing rugby, fitness wise, how long was it before you were huffing and puffing?
I don't think fitness was ever an issue.
Okay, cool.
My job's quite physical anyway, so
okay.
Fitness was never an issue. It was more adapting to the rules of football, and knowing what you can and can't do was the hard part. Like learning the playbook as well. So yeah, but the coaches they make it easy. The coaches have been great. Like I said, Sam Williams has been fantastic, and the environment that like Simon and especially our general manager Keith have created to have 60, 70 blokes turn up and all get along. Everyone's there for the same reason. Everyone buys into the ethos of the team. It's like I said, it's an absolute pleasure to be a part of.
You said you told me obviously before we started recording you play on defense. Is that because of the rugby background? You just got shoved in on defense? Was it a personal choice?
I started off running back. I thought years of rugby tackling. I just wanted to run with the ball, score some touchdowns. And then I'd done a rookie session, and after tackling and stuff, having the pads on, I thought, no, this is what I'm good at. This is where I can benefit the team. And yeah, I moved to linebacker and never looked back.
There you go. And sitting there very patiently, Perry, we welcome you in. Obviously, you join him on the defensive side of the ball. Tell us a bit about how you got into the sport. And now, you're a rookie this year as well. And what it was like to taste your first kind of action this season.
Yeah, I mean, my background is a lot different to Mike's. My background is a lot more. I mean, I've been a fan of NFL since I was a young teen. I was staying up watching Channel 5 when I was 12, 13 years old without anyone knowing, watching the Eagles and watching what I could. And it's always been my favorite sport. I became aware of the Bobcats, I think, somewhere around 2015, 2016. And I just kind of knew they were there and I would follow what they did, etc. But it never crossed my mind at all to get involved. Luckily, my brother, who's a PT, where he was as a job, Keith, our GM, was also going to that gym. So Keith would try and recruit my brother, but at the same time, he would tell my brother to give me a nudge as well. And as time went on, I kind of give it more thought, and eventually, one of my friends was like, "I'm going to give this a go. Do you want to give it a go as well?" And I was like, "I'll bite the bullet. Let's give it a go." And I went to the same rookie session Mike was talking about, 50, 60 guys. Yeah, it was a bit daunting. They were like, "What position do you want to try?" And naturally, every time you ask a person what position they want to play in American football, they choose offense. So I went for a running back role. I started out with that. And then we played a little game towards the end of the session where I suddenly started to notice that I was getting a bit better at understanding where the ball may go, reading like who's going to throw it, etc. And then the DB coach at the time, Ben, came over to me and said, "I want you to be a DB." And I was like, "Okay, great." And that's the journey. That's how it got there.
I think it's the same with every rookie, is it? When when a rookie turns up, it's always all about the glory, isn't it? Always about the glory. No one wants to put the graft in, but there we go. Coach, back to you. Obviously, two new rookies there with Perry and Mike, and obviously with the loss of the 2020 season, some teams have fared differently, and they're quite ranging in terms of teams participating this season because of numbers or whatever. Have the rookie sessions, obviously getting people up, Perry and Mike down, obviously helped with keeping the numbers up, but judging by the fact that you're getting 50, 60 guys down, has numbers ever been an issue since the end of the 2019 season?
No, we've been blessed with numbers since 2019. I'm not going to lie, in our distance past, numbers have been an issue. I mean, I remember games where we've gone to Thrashers, we've gone to Kent Exiles with 19 players. We may have had, kitted, injured players just to make up numbers. Yeah. But the last 3 or 4 years, we've had 60, 70 people on the roster, quite healthily traveling with 40 away. Yeah. Over the last season, obviously we were keeping to guidelines, training when we were allowed to. When we weren't allowed to, we were keeping it down to the minimal levels that we could. Obviously not, contravening any guidelines, which was difficult in itself to keep motivation up and keep people fit, keep the interest up. But we've got such a buy-in from the players. And again, we've mentioned it, the family ethos bit, but everyone is so invested in the team. And we've put such a structure in place that everyone is communicating throughout the whole time. And we just couldn't wait for, the guidelines to be relaxed. And as soon as they could, we came back straight away. We're training twice a week as soon as that had relaxed. I think it was the tail end of August 2020, getting ready for as soon as the league structure was being announced. And we were ready to go once that was in place.
Sure. And just a word on, I know I've mentioned to every coach that comes on. Obviously, the divisions are going. It's a one-off season, standalone season, and it was more focused on the geographical side of things. Were you happy with the way the divisions aligned this year? I know obviously you've travelled to Blitz previously, and South Wales Warriors and and Essex Spartans are a decent team as well in Britball land. Were you happy with the teams that you got paired with? Let's say because Solent, Portsmouth were pretty good a couple of years back, and Rushmore have always been a decent outfit. I'm not saying that you would have looked at it and thought it was daunting, but were you happy with the array of teams that you were mixed with?
I mean, to be honest, that's not what we were paired up with originally.
Okay.
When the structure first came out, we were put into the Southwest Conference.
Oh, okay, right. Yeah.
So we were in with Raptors, Torbay,
Monarchs.
and we went when Keith and I went on to a call just before it was all finalized, and a proposition was put to us where we could stay in that conference with predominantly Division 2 teams, or the proposition was put forward to us to come into the Wessex, what was rebranded the Wessex Conference, with the 4 Division 1 teams and Thrashers. And from our point of view, what we wanted to do was see where we stood against the Division 1 teams and see what we could learn against the Premiership team.
Yep.
And to be honest, we didn't hesitate. That the option was on the table. We didn't think twice about it, and we took the opportunity. There's no point looking backwards. So we took the opportunity and we ran with it. Yeah,
no, fair play. Absolutely fair play. And this season again continued kind of the upward trajectory and the positivity of since 2019. Mike Perry, I just want to get your thoughts. Mike, start with you. Like say, when you stepped onto the field for that first game and you initiated that first hit, or you got hit first by being blocked. What was the anything you took away that surprised you from the first game? If you played against Portsmouth,
yeah, no, it was that long ago. Probably being taken off the ball was a big shock. Going in to make a tackle, you're lining it up, and then out of nowhere, someone just takes you out, and it's perfectly legal. That was something that took a lot of getting used to. But yeah, a lot more physical than what I thought it would be. A lot of big guys you come up against, a lot of athletes, and yeah, even though you've got the pads and the helmets on, it's still, I wouldn't say it's a contact sport. I'd say it's more of a collision sport. There's some massive impacts. And the next day especially, I felt it.
Yeah, no, I can imagine. That's why I say head on a swivel. Absolutely head on a swivel.
Yeah.
Perry, anything that you took from the first game?
I mean, leading up to the first, I mean, it might be worth saying, like, within that first initial lockdown period, I was like a man possessed when it came to exercise, positional fundamentals and everything. I did everything to prepare myself and make myself ready for the season and show my positional coach that I was ready. At the end of the day, regardless of what happened on the field, I tell you what, every time, and do you know what, this has happened throughout the season, no matter who we're playing. And I guess it's good because you realize you love the sport, but every snap, there's just like you've got full of adrenaline, but at the same time, your anxiety is at an absolute high. And you're just like, it's like you've got to try and take a couple of deep breaths just to steady yourself before that ball is snapped. So it's been like that the whole way through the season, whether we're, facing Portsmouth or facing Solent away. So yeah, it's, I felt like I was prepared. With obviously we know that Portsmouth struggled with numbers at the start of the season, unfortunately. So they obviously had guys playing on both sides of the ball. So it was, the level throughout the season was obviously varied between all the teams. But yeah, throughout the season, as Mike said, it was, no matter how long I'd been watching the game for, it couldn't prepare me for how I would feel the next day after a game. And I'm feeling it today after the game yesterday. So
Yeah, no, absolutely. And coach, it's been a bit of a funny one, the Wessex division, isn't it? Yeah, say Portsmouth played you guys, and then obviously let numbers, or I don't know if it was the fact that they played you. They thought, we'll get out of here. But Sussex again, another kind of juggernaut of old in the Britball world. They've struggled, and they've since obviously withdrawn early before the season ended. Any particular result or any particular games? I know you played 3 against Rushmore, which has been quite interesting to see those results. Obviously, you came out on top of that 2-1 in that kind of head-to-head series, and again, Solent, one of the fiercest teams, especially in the south of England in Britball. But any particular result or any particular performance that you have particularly come out of the game and thought, I'm really proud of this team? And I know you say that with all the results, but any particular result that stands out for you?
Yeah. I mean, first thing I just really want to say is, for Sussex and for Portsmouth, I think we just have to take in context of what the year has been. And, I'm certainly not judging the actions they've taken this year, because we don't know what was behind it. And I do nothing but wish them well for next season and hope we see both of them on the field and we can compete against them in the conference next year. I mean, 2 things really. The Sussex game that we did play against them away, for us to win that, because we have played them a number of times before. We've never beaten Thunder before. Massive respect to Coach Ellis, because I have coached against him. But to win that on a last second field goal was absolutely immense. The feeling in the team after that was incredible. But again, the same feeling with Knights. I've been playing against Knights since 1994, but to get the upper hand on them twice. And, I'm just going to put this out there. Our GM did mention it on a different podcast the other night. When we played them the first time round, we didn't have our starting QB. We had a 50-year-old man who can't see more than 10 yards down the field playing QB in that game, who also happens to be the head coach. So we weren't able to coach. He can barely hobble behind the line. And he hampered the team. And if we had our starting QB, it might have been a little bit different. But yeah, we just enjoyed those games against Knight. They were hard-fought, physical games, and took a lot of pleasure in winning those. And that Thrashers game at home, being able to go toe-to-toe with them and only having a 2-score differential at home, hugely proud of the guys and what they did in that game. Won't talk too much about yesterday, but the home game was an immense effort on their part. But again, what we've taken from that is when we look at the Division 1 opponents that we've played this year, we're 5-1 against Division 1 opponents, which I can only take as a positive for next year.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say, does that vindicate your decision? Obviously, you jumping at the chance to be in this division, like say, it's fully justified in it was the right decision to make.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the one thing we'll never do as a club is say what we think we're going to do moving forward. All we ever hope to be is competitive, which I think we've shown we can do. But what I didn't want to do is not compete against the high-level teams and then not know where we stood for next year. What we've now done is given our entire squad, Division 1 competition. They are now all confident and have confidence in us as an organization that we can go and compete at that level for next year. And it's not something we now need to fear. We can go in and know we can be on an equal footing with whoever we see. So
yeah, no, absolutely.
Pleased with the decision.
Yeah, no, I fully understand that. And obviously, played your last game yesterday, so technically the off season now. What does the kind of the plan look like for the rest of 2021? We obviously you mentioned end of season awards and obviously get all the team together and celebrate a positive season. And but any more like kind of scrimmages or practices for every week and.
Yeah, so what we'll do is we'll have a tiny little bit of a break. And then we will come down to just once a week training as opposed to twice a week. Focus a little bit more on fitness, a little bit more on positional, drop the contact down altogether. Look at the playbook schemes a little bit, and then work our way through to January where we'll put on some rookie sessions. And then from January, we'll gear it up in preparation for next year.
Mike Perry, anything for you guys in particular that you'll be looking to work on as part of your game, in the next couple of months, and obviously heading into 2022?
You go first, Perry.
Yeah, you go first, Mike.
Just improving all round. Obviously, it's been a nothing season this year, and obviously watching like Sussex and Portsmouth drop out might not be a true reflection of what they're capable of. So I'm excited to see what next season brings, with it being a competitive season, and obviously using the off season to get in the gym, work on the fitness, strength and conditioning, and seeing how far I can push myself as a player and see what else I can bring to the team. That's what's exciting me for next year. That's what I'm looking forward to, and just being a Bobcat in general, being part of the team, being part of the family, it's exciting. And unless you come along and be a Bobcat, you'll never know. So, but that's what's driving me for next season. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Perry?
Well, just to echo the last thing Mike said, that the one thing that just pulls you back in is that addictiveness to this team. Like it can't be understated how much this, you can't call it anything else than a brotherhood. You want to absolutely go to war with each other. Just keeps making you want to push yourself. And for me, the grind has kind of already started. I'm quite lucky that I'm a data analyst by trade, so I enjoy getting my head in film, understanding what trends and understanding what's coming out of the data that I'm observing from all the game film. So that's going to be a big part of my off season, is continuing to work my craft on watching film from this year, and obviously the physical aspect as well. I think one of the main things I want to do is definitely work on my aerobic fitness. So I'm going to be swimming a lot more and things like that. Because a couple of times I did find myself kind of struggling with long drives and things like that. So I think I really want to work on that. And yeah, it's just back to technique drills. And, at the end of the day, just as I said, the grind begins now. Let's get ready for that competitive season where, we feel we can really do, help the Bobcats hopefully get to an even higher place,
Absolutely. And I don't know about you, Coach, but it sounds like Perry is a future coordinator / head coach in the making with what he was in the early parts. But we'll see how that journey ends up. But Coach, any particular aspects or goals for you? Obviously, I know you said about looking into the playbook, but I know the goal for you will be to get the Bobcats in the Prem South with all the big guns again. And but any particular goals or aspirations for you, either with the Bobcats or Team GB maybe or anything like that?
For me, it's just to continue with the Bobcats, to be honest. I'm enjoying what I'm doing. I absolutely love every single member of the team I've got. I'd go to war for them. I think they all know that. And the one thing that Keith and I are both incredibly proud of is, one, we've got infrastructure in place for us to succeed on the field, but we've also got infrastructure in place and support in place for all of our players off the field. And I think that's the key thing for us as a team. Is just for our players to feel supported both on and off the field. And as long as we've got that going, then I feel like I'm succeeding. And to be honest, that's enough for me. Don't need anything else. Very nicely put indeed. But Perry, just a word, if you do ever want to become a coach, you can sign up to our scheme and we'll help pay for your coaching. How about that?
Oh,
years and years down the
line. I'll remember that. that.
Oh, it's open to everyone. It's open to everyone. To say we we just helped a couple of others. I can't remember their names now. Corey was one of them. But we have obviously a scheme. If you want to get your level 1s or your level 2 BAFTA coaching, or if you want to become an official, anyone out there, anyone that is listening, head over to full10yards.com/Britball. Fill in our Find the Flag scheme, and I say we'll hopefully get through everyone that is registered on that. We'll hopefully have an announcement next week or two about another person that we've selected to help get qualified in coaching. But that's going to do it for the Bournemouth Bobcat show. Guys,
really appreciate you coming on, and very much looking forward to try and coming down in 2022. So you're not too far away from me, but come and watch you guys grow, watch you guys progress, and appreciate your time, and very well done on the season. Like I say, one of the surprise teams, if not one of the surprise team of the season. But talking to you guys, obviously, you guys aren't surprised. So you've put the rest of Britball on watch. You've put the rest of Britball on notice. Just coach, if there's obviously you said rookie sessions obviously next year, but say if someone maybe wants to get in contact with the Bobcats or yourself or the team, how can they do that?
They can get in contact with us through our Facebook page, message us through that, and we'll reply back and give them all the information they need.
Lovely stuff. There we go. Cool. Say if you are interested in, if you've been a follower or a reader of the Britball stuff that I've been putting out, results for week 13 will be out on Tuesday, so tomorrow. As this is obviously going out on the Monday evening, obviously week 14, one of the pretty much the last week for the English and / Welsh teams, and then Scotland carries us on for another month or so. But we'll have more teams on in the off season, more teams to talk to, more coaches and players to talk to as well, because that's the kind of stuff we like to do here at the Full 10 Yards. So my thanks to Coach McLean, thanks to Mike, thanks to Perry, thanks for your time, fellas. We will see you next time when we do this all again for the game.